What if I told you that the best basketball player ever changed the future of women's basketball and broke one of its biggest stars' hearts in front of the whole world? The proof that rocked the basketball world came out of nowhere. Michael Jordan. Yes, that Michael Jordan walked into a private training facility where Angel Reese and Hailey Van Lith were working hard and not paying attention to anything else. No press, no news, just greatness walking into a gym. But what occurred after that? It was bigger than any game, any number, or any fight. This wasn't just a surprise presence. This was a deliberate alignment of legacy and future. And Caitlin Clark, the brightest star in women's basketball, the face of a movement, and the record breaker, wasn't there. That absence impacted harder than anyone thought when news of Jordan's surprise session with Reese and Van Lith reached Clark. Her reaction astonished even her closest allies. The woman who was known for being calm on the court, having a lot of confidence from long range, and being a great leader, broke down not in fury, not in jealousy, but in something far deeper: fear. Not fear of failure, not fear of their getting better, but fear of being left behind. When the GOAT picks your rivals instead of you, how do you come back from that? Let's break it down. Caitlin Clark's rookie season with the Indiana Fever has been nothing short of revolutionary. First overall choice. Ratings magnet. Commercial juggernaut. Off the charts. 19.2 ppg, 8.4, a PG 5.7, RPG, all while carrying a franchise that hadn't been on the map since Tamika Catchings. And yet, in one private gym session, the story began to twist. Why? Because access is everything at the elite level, and Michael Jordan just handed it to her rivals. Angel Reese, Clark's long-standing enemy since college, the queen of the paint, the 2023 NCAA champion, known not just for her strength game, but for her mind games. Her struggle with Clark during LSU Iowa games lit up every screen from ESPN to TikTok. Hailey Van Lith, Clark's former teammate in international play, now creating her own way at LSU, a scoring assassin with excellent footwork and tremendous basketball IQ. Van Lith has always been on the edge of greatness. Now she's training with the legend himself. That's more than a workout. That's a signal. And Caitlin Clark heard it loud and clear. What did that moment imply for Clark? In public, nothing. She stayed composed. But behind the scenes, insiders say she was crushed, not because of ego, but because of what the moment represented: a potential transfer in power, the psychological weight of carrying the league, the scary reality that someone else might be next. And let's be real, Michael Jordan doesn't do anything without intention. This wasn't simply coaching, this was anointing. Michael Jordan just gave two rising stars a secret weapon, and the queen of the league wasn't invited. Jordan's decision to train Reese and Van Lith raises enormous questions. Does this give them an unfair edge? Should elite mentorship be available to everyone, or is this just how competition works at the highest level? Let's not forget, MJ is the emblem of competition. 6 rings, 0 apologies. When he chooses to invest his energy in means something. For Reese and Van Lith, it's a golden ticket. For Clark, it's a warning shot. The pressure on Caitlin Clark has been tremendous. She's not only expected to perform, she's supposed to alter a league. Every game she plays, every post she makes, every tweet she likes, it's examined. She's become the LeBron of the WNBA, except with one key difference. The league is still expanding, still fighting for visibility, and Clark is the motor propelling that growth, which means moments like this being left out cut deeper than they would for anyone else. Clark wasn't just hurt because Jordan trained her rivals. She was scared that maybe, just maybe, the spotlight might be shifting. In the age of viral content, every emotional fracture becomes a trend. Every teardrop becomes a TikTok. And yes, fans noticed. One video of Clark appearing, obviously agitated, after a post-practice press briefing reached 3 million views inside 24 hours. Caption: when your idol trains your rivals and not you, ouch. But here's where Clark reminds us why she's the face of the league. She didn't lash out. She didn't send mysterious tweets. She showed up to practice the next day earlier than usual. More focused, more aggressive, more determined. Because if there's one thing Michael Jordan respects, it's work ethic. And Caitlin Clark, she's betting that she doesn't need his support to beat his protégés. Who wins? The chosen ones, or the one with everything to prove? So, we ask you, does Jordan's involvement shift the balance of power in women's basketball? Should elite mentorship be regulated to maintain competitive fairness? Or is this just the reality of elite sportswear legends chose their heirs? Drop your ideas in the comments. We're going deep into this story all week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon, because the future of women's basketball isn't simply being played on the court, it's being decided in private gyms, shifting alliances, and raw emotion. And this is just the beginning. But there's a side of this story no one's talking about, and it may simply rewrite everything we think we know about sports stardom. When Michael Jordan made his entrance into that private session, no cameras were supposed to be rolling, but a leaked cell phone clip changed that. It wasn't just MJ offering tips, it was him sitting down, totally engaged, drawing plays with Reese and Van Lith, talking footwork, mindset, and game strategy like he was passing down old scrolls of the game itself. That footage hit social media like a wildfire. Within minutes, Jordan mentors Reese and Van Lith was trending at #1. By contrast, Caitlin Clark's post-game interview the following day received barely 1,200 views, and the contrast hit hard. Because this was more than media attention, this was cultural transformation in real time. Let's look at the psychology of that moment. Clark, already shouldering the weight of expectation, watched as two of her closest opponents obtained access to the Oracle while she was sidelined, not because she wasn't good enough, but because someone else had already made a decision. In high-level sports, being the best isn't always enough. It's about being picked, and this time, she wasn't. That's the gut punch most fans miss. We focus on stats, games, rivalries, but for elite athletes, the game behind the game, the networking, mentorships, endorsements, strategic alliances, just as powerful. Jordan's session wasn't on a court. It was on a separate battleground. And Reese and Van Lith came out with armor Clark didn't get. And what did that do to her? Sources connected to the Indiana Fever indicate that Clark stayed 2 hours late after practice the next day. She wasn't just shooting threes. She was watching film of Michael Jordan's legendary Chicago Bulls games. It wasn't simply about improving, it was a message. I don't need to be invited. I'll still win. But here's where it gets much more intense. What if this wasn't just a training session, but the birth of the next basketball dynasty? You heard that right. Word around the league is that Jordan may be laying the framework for a long-term women's basketball initiative, a legacy project. And who better to spearhead that than two players keen to surpass expectations? Angel Reese, the Bayou Barbie, has already shook up the atmosphere of women's hoops. Her brazen confidence, lethal instinct, and ability to dominate the paint make her a fan favorite and a contentious character. She doesn't just play the game, she defines it. Hailey Van Lith, long considered a breakout star in the making, has the charisma, the clutch gene, and now possibly the endorsement of the greatest basketball player who's ever lived. If Jordan is actually crafting the future behind closed doors, Clark may have to battle, not just on the court, but against a narrative machine working overtime to create new symbols. What if this is exactly what Clark needed? Pressure does two things. It breaks you or it reveals you. Clark's whole brand has been about defying expectations. She wasn't the most heralded recruit out of high school. She didn't play for the flashiest squad, but she made her legacy with fire and consistency. When everyone believed she'd fade after college, she exploded. When defenders triple-teamed her, she still found a way. And now, when the doors are locked and the legends are mentoring others, she's still grinding. That type of internal fire can't be created. It's not handed out in private sessions. It's born in silence, in the nights when no one's watching. And although Reese and Van Lith might have Jordan in their corner, Clark might have something even more dangerous, nothing to lose. In the battle for women's basketball's throne, who has the real advantage, the mentored, or the underestimated? Here's what insiders are saying. WNBA execs are privately thrilled. This drama, it's gold. It increases viewership, fuels rivalries, and sells seats. Sponsors are split. Some perceive Clark as the safe face of the sport. Others are moving toward Reese and Van Lith's burgeoning prominence and cultural effect. Jordan brand. No official comment, but their social media has been like a lot of Reese and Van Lith video lately. This story isn't simply about basketball. It's about media power, legacy building, and the invisible hands molding what the sport will look like 5 years from now. Michael Jordan's influence is massive, but even he can't write the final chapter of this story. That's saved for what happens under the lights, with 10 players on the floor and the clock winding down. Clark might have been left out of the private session, but if there's anything we know about her, it's that she doesn't wait to be invited. She crashes the stage. She's not done, not even close. Sources now indicate she's privately engaged, a great NBA shooting coach, someone who once worked with Kobe Bryant to refine her skill. The message is clear. You train with MJ, cool, I'll train like I'm chasing him. They called her the face of the league. Now she's battling to prove she's more than just a poster sheet. The problem, so, let's ask the big question again. Is this the beginning of the end for Caitlin Clark's dominance, or the comeback arc that cements her as the fiercest athlete the sport has ever seen? You decide, because this story isn't completed. It's just getting started, and in the end, it won't be about who got picked. It'll be about who delivered. And while all eyes are on Jordan, Reese, and Van Lith, something else is occurring behind the curtain. Caitlin Clark's quiet has been strategic. She hasn't publicly commented. No tweets, no shade, no comments. But insiders claim she's been watching every clip, analyzing, learning, hoarding it all like ammunition, because she knows the real struggle isn't waged in secret sessions. It's on game night, when the world is watching, and that day is approaching rapidly. The Indiana Fever are expected to face the Chicago Sky next month. That game, it's already being branded the showdown. Clark versus Reese. The overlooked versus the picked. And here's the twist. Ticket sales have surged. Pre-sales broke records within 48 hours of the leaked Jordan footage, all because of a single spontaneous incident that showed something bigger. This rivalry isn't just personal, it's prophetic. Fans demand more than basketball. They want emotion, they want storylines, and whether they confess it or not, they want to select sides. Some are rallying around Angel Reese and Hailey Van Lith, calling them the next evolution of swagger, skill, and flair. They believe they're reinventing what it means to be a woman in sports, loud, unapologetic, magnetic. Others are digging deeper with Clark. They regard her as the classic underdog with a chip on her shoulder, the quiet sniper who lets her game do the talking, the one who never needed the spotlight to be great. She built her own. And in this emotional tug-of-war, every play will matter. We're not just watching a rivalry, we're witnessing a turning point in sports history. Because underneath all of this comes a broader question: who controls the future of women's basketball? For years, the sport has worked to earn the recognition it deserves. TV coverage, sponsorship deals, fair pay, and finally, it's breaking through. Clark helped open that door, but Reese and Van Lith are going through it like they made the room. It's not disrespect, it's evolution, and that's the tension, because every movement has phases. Clark was the catalyst, Reese is the disruptor, Van Lith is the strategist, and Jordan, he's the kingmaker. This isn't just a story about three players. It's about legacy, power, timing, and truth. And the truth is no one's secure. One terrible game, one viral statement, one injury. The hierarchy reshuffles. That's why Clark's approach is so risky. She doesn't chase headlines. She sharpens edges, quietly, relentlessly, like a storm building strength offshore. You can train with excellence. You can talk about legacy, but when the buzzer sounds, only one thing matters: who shows up. And Caitlin Clark, she's coming, not for retribution, not for attention, for proof. Proof that brilliance isn't gifted, it's earned. She's not in a group conversation with Jordan. She's not trending every week. She's not holding secret workouts. She's in the gym, alone, obsessed. And when the ball tips next month, it won't be about who trained with who. It'll be about execution under pressure. The story has been written. The pieces are in place. The chessboard is set. And no matter who you root for, Clark, Reese, or Van Lith, you're seeing history. The actual sort, the sloppy kind. The kind they'll make documentaries about one day.